As you will probably be aware, the Argyll and Bute Council signed up to the Armed Forces Community Covenant in June last year, that's 2012, which indicates and means that the Council is now working in partnership with the military throughout the area of Argyll and Bute Council. The wonderful thing is that because we have a very large part of the Defence Submarine Service here in Faslane, and in fact will be entirely the entire submarine service will be in Faslane, Helensburgh and Lomond will become a very important player in the Ministry of Defence's development. And under the Maritime Change Programme, which Argyll and Bute Council and indeed the Ministry of Defence with the Navy, the Royal Navy, are working on, we seek to make big projects happen and develop this into a world-class centre for the submarine service. Now, the flow down from the Community Covenant are projects such as the Scientific Park, the Science Park, the Submarine Training Academy, and other projects that we're looking at coming up, such as the Submarine Museum in Helensburgh, and we look and seek to develop these over the course of the next few years. But interesting enough, this gives a lot of focus in the Military Covenant to the military history of this area, of both Argyll and Bute and Helensburgh and Lomond area, as an area rich in military history which has gone on over the centuries. And no more important is its relationship with its county regiment, being the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders. And here we have a picture which commemorates a certain campaign in the history of the 8th Battalion Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, which took part in North Africa on the 23rd of April 1943. And this was the Battle of Longstop Hill, which commemorates, and the picture was commissioned by the trustees of the Kilt Fund of the 8th Battalion Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders to commemorate the last Victoria Cross award made to a member of the regiment. And this was made to Major Jack Anderson, whose family originate from Campbelltown. And this, very recently, this painting was unveiled in Stirling Castle on behalf of the 8th Battalion trustees, and we were very happy to have present at it Major Duncan Macmillan, who was one of the soldiers that actually took part in this particular battle that you see in the painting before you. The painting depicts the final assault of Longstop Hill, which happened, as I say, on the 23rd of April 1943, and the gentleman in the middle of the picture is Major Jack Anderson himself, who was awarded in the field the highest award of valour, which is the Victoria Cross. This is now doing a tour of Argyll and Bute, and we had it unveiled in Stirling Castle about 6 weeks ago. It has been in Campbelltown Library for 3 weeks. It's now come to Helensburgh. It will go to Dunoon, and then it will go to Oban, and then finally it will go to Inverary Castle, where their graces, the Duke and Duchess of Argyll, are very kindly hosting a civic reception, which will be to hang the picture for a period of time in there until it returns to its permanent place in Stirling Castle in September. The great thing about the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders within the area of Argyll and Bute is that Argyll and Bute had 2 battalions. One was the 8th Battalion Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, which was based in Argyllshire and drew its men from that county. And the 9th Argylls drew its men and soldiers from basically Dumbartonshire. And remembering historically that Helensburgh and Lomond was in western Bartonshire, we therefore have a crossover of the 2 regiments. So we have loyalties to 2 battalions of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, that is the 8th and the 9th Battalion Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders. Both were Territorial Army battalions and were called up for the war in the Second World War. This focuses people's views and ideas of what the Military Covenant, which is this new way forward to bring the military and the civilian community together to make it work. And the great thing about the Military Covenant is that it is to allow the military to live and develop and work within a civilian community in turn to work with them. And as you know, in Argyll and Bute, we're very lucky to have such a large base in Fast Lane, where we are dependent on a lot of jobs there for the local economy and the development of various skills as we see forward, and hopefully jobs are created to bring to younger people and through the generations, and to keep the area as economic vibrant as possible and progress that. The other issue is that it's also a matter of care in the community, and recognising that we have people who have done wonderful things in the military operations and have come back to live here and are cared for in the community and looked after appropriately as they should be. But the key to this is not that there's any benefits from it, but they are not disadvantaged, and that is a key role and the key mission of the military covenant, which was signed itself between the Her Majesty's government in Westminster and the armed forces in May 2011. And the flow down from that was the Armed Forces Community Covenant, which is what the Argyll and Bute Council signed up to in June 2012. The military covenant also means that I, as the Armed Forces and Veterans Champion, as appointed by my fellow councillors last year in June 2012, have to cover the whole of Argyll and Bute in my role as the Armed Forces and Veterans Champion, and my role is to ensure that the military covenant is implemented correctly, and the Armed Forces Covenant draw down from that with the council in all shapes and forms and sizes across the various services we as a council offer to the community. It is already showing positive results, particularly in people taking more cognizance of the military in the community, and also groups, whether it be families, whether it be friends, whether it be organisations, voluntary organisations, are getting together under that banner to create very useful works for the betterment of the area and for the people. So what I've tried to do there is give you an idea of what the military covenant's about, what we actually enact as a council, which is the Armed Forces Community Covenant, and we will be shortly forming the Argyll and Bute Armed Forces and Community Partnership, which will be formed later on in this year.